Joseph and Mary, they're in this betrothal period, this year-long period. Joseph was building the addition on his father's house for the two of them. And remember, Joseph is a carpenter, right? So I'm sure there's no builder grade anything in this house. It's all custom work that he's doing. And look at verse 18 again. It says, before they came together, meaning intimately or sexually, they kept their relationship pure before they were married. Before they came together, Mary was found with child of the Holy Spirit. Now, Luke's gospel tells us the angel Gabriel appeared to Mary and announced to her that she would give birth to a son named Jesus, even though she was a virgin. And if you're like me, you think Mary immediately went to tell Joseph the news. But Luke's gospel says Mary immediately went to visit her cousin Elizabeth. She left town. And she goes and she visits Elizabeth for 3 months. She didn't go tell Joseph. She left. She goes and stays with her cousin for 3 months. And notice the phrase here, she was found with child. She was found with child. Now that word found, it also means to discover. To discover. Or even to find out from others. Or to find out from someone else. A.T. Robertson, in his Word Pictures of the New Testament, which is a great resource for Bible study, he points out that this phrase indicates that Mary didn't tell Joseph the news about her pregnancy. Joseph found out that Mary was pregnant. He discovered she was pregnant. And the implication is likely from someone else and not from Mary. You know, Joseph heard it from another. She's been messing around. His life is suddenly an REO Speedwagon song, right? And Joseph knows the child's not his. He doesn't remember, Joseph doesn't have Matthew chapter 1. He finds out that his wife is pregnant and it's not his child. And he doesn't believe Mary's story that an angel appeared to her and she's pregnant, but she's still a virgin, she's been faithful. He doesn't buy it. So look at verse 19. Verse 19, then Joseph, her husband, being a just man and not wanting to make her a public example, was minded to put her away secretly. He doesn't buy the story. Remember, Joseph and Mary, they're considered legally married at this point, so a legal divorce was required to end the marriage. The text tells us that Joseph was a just man, and that's an important detail. He was a just man. What does that mean, that he was a just man? That means, listen, Joseph was careful to obey the law of Moses. Doesn't mean that he was a nice guy, which he was, but it means he was careful to obey the law of Moses. Well, what does the law of Moses tell us should happen? Well, if you're taking notes, Deuteronomy chapter 22, verse 23 says that Mary should be publicly stoned to death for adultery. That's what the law says. And Joseph is a just man. He's careful about keeping the law. The law says Mary should be stoned to death. And God feels very strongly against sexual immorality before marriage and infidelity in a marriage. And the law says Mary should be stoned to death for adultery. Joseph was a just man. He's careful to obey the law of God. That's what the law says he should do. But Joseph doesn't want to make her a public example. He doesn't want to put Mary to death. So Joseph now finds himself torn between obeying the command of God and his love for his wife Mary. So what does Joseph do? Look at the text. Joseph decides, instead of publicly stoning Mary for adultery, he will put her away secretly or put her away privately, divorce her privately. In that time, you could have a private divorce where you gave a letter of divorce to your wife in the presence of two witnesses. And you didn't have to state a reason for the divorce. This is Deuteronomy 24. The husband could just say, I have found something unfavorable in her, and not really give a reason. Now, in a few months, when Mary's pregnancy is showing, it will be obvious to everyone why Joseph ended the marriage. But for right now, again, he doesn't have the rest of the story at this point. For right now, he wants to just divorce her secretly and not give a reason, even though he knows she's committed adultery, but he doesn't want to put her to death. So he's just going to divorce her secretly, quietly, and not give a reason for it. And listen to me, give me your attention. By handling it this way, Joseph makes himself the bad guy. Joseph makes himself the bad guy. Joseph makes himself the jerk who divorced sweet Mary for no apparent reason at all. Or so it seems at this point. Joseph, I want you to think about Joseph here and what he's doing. Joseph believed Mary had been unfaithful, that she was pregnant by another man. The law says Joseph has a right to make a public example of Mary and have her put to death. But Joseph chose to take the blame for the divorce and take the shame and take the hit to his reputation to shield Mary. After what she's done in his mind, again, he doesn't know the rest of the story, he's willing to shield her. Joseph was a good man. What does the Bible say? Love covers sin. Love covers sin instead of exposing sin. And here Joseph chooses to cover Mary's sin instead of exposing her sin publicly. And by the way, that's what our bridegroom, Jesus Christ, has done for us. He has covered our sin. Jesus took all of our sin upon himself on the cross. He took all of our guilt, all of our shame, as our substitute, in our place. Condemned he stood. He's borne our griefs. He's carried our sorrows. He was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. He was despised and rejected for us, to shield us, to cover us, to protect us.